Hey, welcome to the first episode of the Summit Pros series on for specifically for real estate investors. And in this first episode, we got Adam Adams from our 2020 summit talking about the pros and cons of doing podcasts. And if you don't know Adam Adams, find him, Google him, and just type in Adam Adams podcast, and you'll find him. He has over 500 episodes, over 500 currently, and he has a lot of experience with podcasts. So let's get right into the video right now.
Should I start a podcast? Pros and cons, because the issue is that there's good parts around a podcast and there's bad parts. And so I want to be able to go through a little of that. So what the heck are the benefits? Why would I do it? Why would I put myself through all of the cons, which I'll talk to you a little bit later on? Why would I put myself through all of these cons to start a podcast? Well, it's because there's a lot of data behind podcasts right now. I think that it's 54% of the United States, which is like many millions, right? I think it's 54% of the United States has listened to at least one episode, and 51% of the United States listens to at least one episode every month. They regularly, a minimum of at least one a month. Now, most of them are doing a lot more than that, but 51% of 12 years and older listen to these every single month. 54% of the U.S. has heard of them. And what's interesting is that there's a lot of savvy, sophisticated people that are podcast listeners. So there's some of the benefits. It's because it's the new thing. It's the new movement, right? Understanding that people with money would rather be on a podcast than a YouTube. And you start to wonder, why are those the facts? Why is it that wealthy people are more likely to listen to your podcast than watch your YouTube? What's the reason? And I would say that the main reason is because people that have gained a certain amount of success, they tend to think a little bit differently. They tend to be the type of people that are able to focus on their main strength while they delegate as much as possible. They're type of people that want to be able to be more efficient with their time. And they have found that they can still do the dishes. They can still work in the garage. They can still do some of their hobbies, riding a bike with their fitness, going on a run. And they can listen to podcasts. But it's very difficult for them to be stuck to watching something and listening. So they're able to do more with less effort. And so I think that that's the main reason why a lot of these very high-class people, like you probably, do listen to podcasts. Raise your hand if you listen to podcasts. Be honest. Jump into the chat. Don't lie. Don't exaggerate. Just say, I do listen to podcasts or I don't listen to podcasts. Very curious to see, because the people on this are likely the type of people that care about your growth, that care about going to the next level. You're most likely that type of person. And so I'm just taking a guess that you're probably also podcast listeners. So I'd really like to make myself a little bit vulnerable and see if that's true or not. That people who are trying to really achieve or have achieved are the type of people that listen to podcasts most likely more than YouTube. All right. So why would you even do this? Because it can really benefit your brand. I'm going to get super vulnerable with you, and I'm just going to pull up my podcast stats. So check this out, everybody. Episodes. Let's go. Where am I going to go? I'm going to go to my analytics. And so this morning was a weak morning. Only 55 people listened to me today. In the last 7 days, 5371. Now, if I'm posting 3 episodes a week, 3 per week, somebody do the math for me. How many is that per episode? 3 per week divided by, or 5371 divided by 3. Okay, we talked about a little over 300,000 so far, but here's the cool thing. Every single day, look, this is day by day by day by day by day. My smallest days, today's not going to count because we're not over with today yet. But yesterday, I spoke in front of a conference of 977 people. The day before, I spoke in front of a conference of 730. The day before, on April 13th, I was speaking at a conference of 551 people wanted to hear what I was saying. 579, 776, over 1,000 on April 10th. And so if you're asking yourself, why should I start a podcast? I think that the reason why you ought to think about starting a podcast is because with very little effort, Paul on the call has now put on a conference. It probably took Paul weeks or months of thought, effort. It probably took a team. And if it didn't stress him out a little bit, I would be surprised because I host conferences and it stresses me out. And at my conferences, I'll have 617 people, 617. That's the last conference we had. And it costs money, it costs time, it costs effort, it costs stress. There's a lot of moving parts to just get ready for one day to have 617 people at my conference. But when we're looking at podcasts, I'm getting in front of 1,000 people a day, 600 people a day with very minimal effort. Even on days that I don't publish a podcast, so if I'm only doing it 3 days a week, even on days that I don't publish a podcast, I'm still in front of the same amount of people as I would be if I put all that time and effort into a conference. So there's just some reasons why you ought to do it.